round. Doc, we spent a couple minutes talking about the vice presidential debate, and as in everything, we spend about as much time on a topic as we think that it is important to the national conversation, and so I think we should move on.
Okay, fair enough.
Vice president debate, because it's always fun, but they hardly ever move the needle.
Nope.
Lloyd Benson crushed Dan Quayle and still lost in '88. I said
that's true.
I think
Oh, now one last thing about this,
but inconsequential.
One of the Facebook memes that I saw was the Grinch That Stole Christmas, the cartoon.
Yeah,
he's grinning, and they have Tim Kaine making the same face.
Yeah,
that was
close.
funny.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the debate a little bit. The second presidential debate.
I watched the whole. Boy, that was tough. That was a tough one. If you follow me personally on Facebook, you'd see some of my reactions, and I got two things I got to get off my chest before we get into it, because we're going to talk about a lot of outrageous stuff that Donald Trump has said, and none of us are really surprised by any of that at this point, I don't think. But he did two things, and he's been doing these. Or the one about she should be in jail is a gigantic problem, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. But he's been doing another thing, and the campaign is orchestrating this attack on Tim Kaine's record as a defense lawyer, and on Hillary, her representation of an accused rapist in the 70s of a 12-year-old child, and Donald brought it up. Folks, hold on a second, because I'm outraged by this, because in this country, you have the constitutionally protected right to counsel if you're accused of a crime. It is so important that the Supreme Court has interpreted that right not only to mean that you have the right to a lawyer, but that lawyer better know what he or she is doing and be competent and represent you effectively. That is something that is the foundation of our criminal justice system, and is the foundation of the adversarial nature of justice, because if you have the power of the state coming down on you to lock you up for a long period of time, you'd better have a darn good lawyer on your side to test every piece of evidence that's held against you, to make every single argument in your defense that can possibly be made, because even after all of that testing and cross-examination and poking holes in the state's theory, the state still proves their case beyond a reasonable doubt. That means that the system, more often than not, has worked. And for Donald Trump to attack two lawyers for the representations that they made of clients of theirs throughout their careers as defense attorneys is indefensible in and of itself. It is an outrage. It is a disgusting attack, and it goes straight to the heart of our constitutional democracy and our adversarial system of justice, and it needs to stop. You do not attack lawyers for the clients they represent, especially when they were court-appointed ones, as in the case of this 12-year-old girl.
Well, and I hate agreeing with the lefty over here.
This is not a political comment.
It's not a political comment. And I don't think that's the right way for Trump to attack. We're both professionals. I come from a family filled with lawyers. We have doctors in the family. I will tell you that I am court ordered to treat pedophiles.
Yes.
And,
you can be.
And I will tell you, I've said it on the show, the best treatment for a pedophile is a high-velocity, low-amplitude lead therapy. I make no bones about it. However, as a professional, I have to treat these people. I have to try to make it so that their lives are better. I am court-ordered. Lawyers have to represent those that are despicable, to say the least, to the best of their ability. That is what is required of them and their profession. They have to uphold the Constitution, number one. Mm-hmm. And two, they are officers of the court. I know I've trapped Lefty a couple times on here by saying, well, geez, you really can't, espouse that because aren't you an officer of the court? And of course he has to go along with it because he is. Mm-hmm. Now, I know I've had conversations with all the members of my family who are lawyers about, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm required to defend this POS. All of them have done it. My brother Mike, my brother Joe, my dad. My dad would especially be pacing around in the kitchen going, I cannot believe I have to do this. And the problem really comes down to that is part of our system. That's what makes our system the fairest in the world.
You do it because people deserve it. Even
the worst of us.
Even the worst criminal. And if you represent somebody accused of a heinous crime and the state fails to meet its burden and that person is let go, that is still a better outcome. That is still a better outcome than to do nothing, to give no defense at all to folks who are just locked up willy-nilly. That's what third world countries, dictatorships.
That's what the Russians do.
That's what the Russians do. So I had to get that out. I've been seething about that since Sunday.
I want to make another point about this. This thing with Hillary and her defense of this particular person. The reason she's being criticized is because she gave an interview about this and talked about, but she came out and said, I tried to get out of the case. Yep. I tried to get out of the case. They wouldn't let me. And here we are going through this case, and this prosecutor is doing things that are ridiculous. Now, understand
they lost physical evidence.
It
was like that was spoiled in the investigation, and this notion that she got him off. She negotiated a plea. He pled guilty. He pled guilty to a lesser offense, did a year in jail, and then 4 years of probation. And folks, if you've ever been on probation, listen, I'm not going to talk about how the seriousness, because if the guy did what he was accused of doing, that's awful, obviously. But it's a desperate, disgusting move that shouldn't be countenanced.
No, it does. Now, on a political note, you and I both know that helps solidify his base. But I think
he doesn't need that, though.
He doesn't. Yeah, I mean that is not the right direction to go. And the truth of the matter is, if everybody wants to be mad about Hillary Clinton getting this rapist off, negotiating a plea deal, then who you really should be mad at is the prosecution.
The county attorney that put themselves in that position.
That botched it.
Yep.
It's just like, if you're mad about O.J. Simpson, it isn't the dream team you should be mad at. Yep. It should be the botched job of the prosecution.
It's the job of the state. So what did you think? What did you think of this debate? Broad strokes.
I thought Trump did a better job than he did in the first debate. I think Hillary didn't do as well as in the first debate. And I think that given enough time, the liberal media will ensure that all the polls say Donald Trump lost. That's what I think. Now, we're going to come back to your opinion, which is Hillary's great and there's nobody better. Even, Jesus Christ isn't as good as Hillary. We get that. So we're going to be back after this. We're going to be digging into the nuts and bolts of the debate. And we want to thank everybody for tuning in. We couldn't do what we do without you. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back right after this break.